Hello, welcome to the Adventures BrickLab webinar. My name is Jesse Bastian. Just wanted to walk you through today what it is that we're headed towards. We're going to just do a couple of quick introductions of myself, PCS as a company, what PCS has done for me in my life. We're going to talk about STEM and the approach of teaching with STEM. How BrickLabs tie into that, and I'm going to give you some curriculum descriptions, some flavors and some recipes. My name is Jesse Bastian. I have been teaching for about 6 years now. I've taught at some lower income schools, I've taught at some upper income schools, I've taught math in terms of pre-algebra, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. I even got to teach some science classes, life science, physical science, earth science, and environmental science. I come from I'm a fifth generation teacher. My family has sat around the dinner table and talked about teaching as it always has been, the way that it ought to be. I have a huge investment in education, and this is what it is that I want to do. Before I was a teacher, I was a student, just like anyone else who's out there. If you're a principal, or if you're an administrator, or if you're a parent, you were a student first. This is me. I was 10 years old in this picture. I was vibrant, I was very excitable, but I was very much a nightmare for my teachers. And I was bright, I could perform, but I just could not behave. Because behaving meant that you can't touch anything, you can't talk to anyone, you can't laugh at anything, and you have to work by yourself and keep your imagination at bay, no daydreaming. Hold your questions to the end and make sure you do what you're told and don't ask why. Now, 2 decades later, faced with my own classroom management struggle, I can understand why it's important to teachers that are required no more attention than any of the rest of my peers, but I also understand that the dogma of that era is in stark contrast to what we know about teaching students now. I struggled in school. I always assumed there was something wrong with me. I never imagined the only thing wrong was what was happening to me, or rather, what wasn't happening to me. If you look at me as a student and you do a quick rewrite, tapping into some of the 16 habits of mind that people are adopting into their own classrooms, what once looked like bad behavior is now almost encouraged. Don't touch has turned into you should gather all the data you can through all of your senses. No talking. Now we really spend a lot of time on making kids think and communicate with clarity and precision. Don't laugh. Now we encourage kids to find humor in everything that they do. Work independently. We are much more of a focus now on working interdependently, because that's what the workforce has required of us. Don't daydream is not something that is going to be a good thing to say to someone who at the same time you're expressing that you want them to create or imagine and hopefully even innovate. Don't ask questions, just do what you're told and stay on task. Well, we want kids asking questions now. We want them looking at things as problems. We want them to be creative problem solvers. When you start to examine the types of things that we're asking of our kids and the types of things that we're trying to introduce into our pedagogy, these are the types of students that we want. In fact, I look pretty good, if you look through today's research. This is me Monday through Thursday, though. As a 10-year-old boy, I'm exaggerating. My teachers were at the peak of their career. As far as I can remember, they were all fabulous people and teachers. They came up with engaging activities for me to do all of the time. They covered all the content. They were exhausted in doing so, and all they asked me to do was a series of tasks, and most of which I was willing to do, but that's exactly what they felt like. They felt like tasks. And admittedly, I was a pretty tough audience. Not as tough as the students that I face in my own classroom now. You can lead a kid this bored to knowledge, but you can't make him learn. And you could tell them the most interesting thing in the world, and it would not pierce this much boredom. So this is my face Monday through Thursday, but not on Fridays. On Fridays, I had this amazing after-school program that I really looked forward to. And that's when I was introduced to PCS. As a 10-year-old student, this critical time in my education. And I had grown up to the point where, I knew how to work inside of the school system. I knew how to fly under the radar. I knew how to complete my work. But school was not really helping me to answer the question that everyone asks a 10-year-old boy. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I looked at PCS not only as an escape from school, but as a hub of those different types of possibilities. There was really anything that I wanted to pursue, and they had a huge menu for me to choose from. They had architecture and engineering and robotics. There was a computer science lab. There was a miniature zoo where we talked about life science, and we learned about creatures and habitats and ecosystems. There was a sound lab, which was the first time I'd ever seen an oscilloscope or a MIDI player or really understood that sound were waves. There was even radio broadcasting attached to that, as well as an accompanying electronics lab to make everything work. There was an optics lab with a laser, a telescope, an awesome astronomy curriculum that surrounded it. And there was a dark room for developing the photography that they let us work with. I worked with kids that were younger than me, they were older than me, but we all worked on the same tasks. And grade barriers, they began to dissolve. Ability became the defining feature, which allowed me to progress and gain recognition at my own rate. We would show off our builds to each other, and I was always engaged in activities that were organized around like an initial introduction of an idea. And then we moved through a process that followed a detailed set of instructions that led to sort of a designed outcome that included one or more of the concepts that were being utilized in order to complete the activity. We received and we gave each other advice on how to make our creations bigger, faster, stronger, or more accurate. And then the staff would challenge us to improve it even farther. I mean, what else could you do? What are the concepts that you use in order to build this? And when we had accumulated enough of those concepts and we truly did understand what was going on, there was always some sort of culmination activity, some sort of group activity, like a final construction, and it always demanded the synergy between all of these concepts. Now, I stopped attending classes at PCS because of time conflicts and sports and other activities, but they really kept expanding their after-school program, and they had a vast amount of success. Just getting kids excited about continuing their learning after school. And they continued to develop their curriculum. They expanded into STEM areas of study that they serviced. And they used this word STEM long before there was a word STEM. PCS gathered their decades worth of successful and proven activities, and they focused their attention on how they could package that and share that exact same excitement and joy that they had watched happen in their own labs, but deliver it to the classroom. And, of course, it was a hit. You can imagine it really doesn't come as a surprise when kids are thinking, when they're moving, when they're tinkering with stuff and designing, creating, accomplishing projects. It gets them excited. When education resembles play, motivation starts to become intrinsic. Students exposed to our programs will definitely improve their academic performance, especially in math and in science. They'll improve their ability to communicate by explaining what it is that they want to create. By practicing technical literacy, they're going to work independently and interdependently. When they are working by themselves, they always remain on task. They don't need prompting, which really frees up the teacher to go out and experience what it is that they're actually doing. They learn better team skills by sharing ideas and relying on each other instead of the teacher, building off of each other's ideas, building projects together, taking and giving advice in a constructive manner. They become inspired to create and toy with innovating ideas, as well as thinking critically about what it would take to actually see these ideas come to fruition. And 20 years later, I find myself teaching math and science in a very traditional manner. I was doing it the exact same way that it was done to me, and as you can imagine, with the exact same results. I needed to spice up the concepts. I knew that they were important. I knew that they had to know this. But my stand and deliver lectures were really not that exciting, or not as exciting as I'd hoped, as you can tell by my friend here. I postponed my teaching. I reconnected with PCS, and since then I've been traveling around this country and other countries in order to help teachers recreate this experience. And I was really lucky to have it as a student, so I want to make sure that others have that same luck inside their classrooms or even outside of their school in different kinds of community programs they might be involved in. The mission of PCS is to provide students in really any educational setting with a manipulative-based, student-driven activity that can encourage their innovation, their creativity, discovery, and exploration. Our company has been servicing STEM education needs for a very long time now, 25 years. And we have found that using our pedagogical approach will really help them with their initiative and their leadership. They will be able to access and analyze information better. Their confidence goes up. Their interest in the core subjects starts to go up, because instead of asking, why are we learning this, through activity-based approach, they start asking questions more along the lines of, what do I need to know in order to be able to accomplish this task? And they will stretch and get more flexible and more adaptable, and their thinking and problem-solving skills will increase. They collaborate and communicate with each other. And of course, a huge increase in their curiosity about the world around them and their imagination of what it is that they're going to be able to create to solve the world's problems. People talk about STEM. You've heard me use the word STEM, and if you've been in public education for a long time, my guess is you may or may not have a certain disdain for acronyms. Sometimes it seems like focus changes from one acronym one year to another acronym the next year, and it's really easy to get overwhelmed with all of the accompanying professional development that seems to somehow follow each one. The problem is that they never seem to remove any of the ones that come before it. But as a result of some of the focus shifting from previous assignments onto new ones, sometimes educators can really look at acronym and think, so we just have to put up with this for a year, and then the next one's going to take its place. So I wanted to pose that question. I want to ask, is STEM, the next big thing, or is it just another acronym, and we just have to wait for it to go away? I think that it is not. I think it is the next big thing. I think this is a really genuine shift in the way that educators have to go about their business. It's not like this shift is being decreed from above or something to that effect. This is in direct response to the global economy that we're trying to prepare our students for. They're going to exit our schools and they're going to join that economy, and this is the fields that the economy is asking for skilled workers in. STEM education, therefore, is really no longer can sit in the background as some sort of elective class interest. It needs to be a core subject infusion. It needs to be part of everything that we do and the way that we approach teaching all of our information. The world is becoming a lot more complicated, and the rate at which this is happening is exponential, not linear. It's happening within a lifetime. Factory work, assembly lines, automated systems, they make less mistakes than humans. They work faster. They work all the way around the clock. They don't ask for vacation, benefits. They never ask for a raise. These types of manual labor jobs are going to become automated. I'm not suggesting that this is the type of job that we were or are preparing our students for. I'm simply pointing out that these types of jobs will no longer be available to students to fall back on. That these skills that we are trying to pursue are going to become absolutely necessary simply to be employed. The jobs that we want to prepare our students for are the type of jobs that design these systems, the ones that can fix and control and program and maintain these types of robots. These are the types of educational goals that could lead towards permanent careers. Now, I'm just going to go through a couple jobs here. I would challenge you to think of a couple as well, jobs that are going to be replaced. And if you can't think of any, try instead to imagine jobs that you think are irreplaceable for robots or humans. 1800, 90% of Americans worked on farms. 1900, it moved down to 40%, but by now it's at 2%. Agriculture has been, probably the first of the different structures that have been automated. As we see it progress forward, you will see less and less humans involved, and you will see it existing on a larger and larger scale. The career of a travel agent is a great example. This career is nearly extinct. There is so much information that is so tied to each other on the internet that has a complete awareness of the entire global list of accommodations, more than a human could ever be aware of. Surveying large areas, collecting scientific data. I mean, these types of things take researchers long periods of time to do. They often even require them to visit extremely dangerous places. But machines can do this much better, and they can cover these distances faster and farther, and they use less resources to do so. And if something were to happen to a machine, it could be fixed or replaced even. Food delivery services could become automated. Distribution is already becoming automated. Package delivery. When was the last time you called a major company to answer a question and you actually got to speak to a human? You know, more and more different kinds of things are being filled by machines. Hard-working, really talented and amazing artists are not able to match the skill and the precision of some of the machines that are out there. Highest paying, highest risk jobs on Earth, and even the ones that aren't going to be on Earth, are going to become automated. Driving, there's an excellent example. How could a machine possibly deal with the erratic movements of people driving in 5 o'clock rush hour? Well, ask Google. Their cars have driven hundreds of thousands of miles, and not a single accident has been reported. Not even a surgeon's hand can match the steadiness of a robot. And as you go through your medical training, you will have to include STEM education as part of what it is that you do. Because it's no longer enough to know the anatomy of the body and the reactions to it. You have to know the entire technological umbrella of materials that you can use now, because these are leading the field. They're having better results. So you have to know how to use them, how to program them, in order to secure what might have been a perfectly secure job path beforehand. Even if you want to go into fields that are non-STEM related, just understanding enough to be able to speak and be literate in the technological world will improve the ability to be an informed consumer. The products that these people are creating will have to be scrutinized by an intelligent consumer. So STEM. And, a lot of teachers, parents, administrators, students, everybody is maintaining this dialogue about STEM. The Department of Education has decided that this is the next big push. The administration as well. The new focus is in response to the industry requesting it. Today's companies are building workforces that require skills and this type of training. So that is technically what STEM is. When you ask people what STEM is, generally speaking, and it's fair, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, well, it's an acronym. It must be science, technology, engineering, and math. It just means doing more of these things, and then that'll fix our problems. And, to be fair, there is some truth to that. We really do need to double down on our commitment to exit students to be comfortable in these sometimes uncomfortable subjects. However, there is a much more accurate definition, and that's that STEM is this integrated approach to covering all of these cornerstones. STEM focuses lessons that don't separate the knowledge that's gained in one of these pillars over the knowledge that's gained in another. Often the reason why students feel so disillusioned with these subjects is because really on their own they can't see the utility. When you combine them, however, it really starts to become you start to become aware of the fact that you really do need the others to complement real improvements in one or any of these different subjects. You need math in order to calculate the data that you gather in science through whichever technology it is that you're using to gather it. In order to create a new technology, you're going to need to be able to engineer that prototype and then improve on that design. So it's not like in order to be a STEM activity it has to have all 4 of these components. It's simply a practice of looking into your own activities, into your own curriculum, and deciding where is there potential to be crossing these boundaries, these siloed bits of information. Through the lens of STEM, PCS has looked through the standards that are mandated throughout the educational system And we've discovered a lot of opportunities where multiple disciplines can be exercised. And we do so through a project-based approach that's always student-led, and we do it with a lot of different variety of hands-on manipulatives. The goal is always to drive home those objectives and those standards, but while simultaneously practicing all of the skills that have been mentioned in order to produce a successful future worker. We want to expose those kids to STEM education in elementary school. It's the only way that they're going to be poised to expand on a set of skills and practices in middle school, and that will allow them to explore the pathways that are out there if they decide to move towards advancing a STEM career in high school and in post-secondary education. I think that the greatest success story that we've had in the history of PCS has been all the work that's been done by students using our BrickLab. Because bricks are a very nostalgic toy. You know, they seem to have been a part of everybody's past. They're equally recognizable by teachers and students alike. And according to a joint research project by it's called the Idaho Systemic Solution. It was conducted in conjunction with Boise State University. The curriculum that was developed with our bricks has been proven to increase that comfort level for those teachers that are attempting to teach STEM content. You know, people see these as the most unintimidating manipulative out there. It's been a part of their past, and generally speaking, they have experience with it. They're visually exciting, they're colorful, they're indestructible. They make a really great noise when you're searching through them. In fact, when you pull a BrickLab container off the shelf and you open up that lid, it's like chumming the water for a fisherman. You know, something happens to the students. And it's really a self-perpetuating effect, because like each time that they have to put those bricks away, it's almost like they store their excitement down in there with those bricks. And when the lid comes off again, the room is just intoxicated with that exact same excitement. The program that we're offering is much more than just a bucket of bricks. The project approach curriculum that accompanies them are fully developed with the explanation of objectives, the associated vocabulary words, the required materials page, background information, the standards that we've aligned the entire lesson to, an anticipatory set to generate interest, introduction to a concept, a complete set of building instructions that can build on that concept, guided practice, independent practice, and always written and assessment pieces like writing and journaling and closure activities. We offer storage and management solutions, implementation solutions, and if you're not really sure on how to get started or how this product could be used most efficiently, or how you could fit it into your current methodology, if you need any curriculum samples or lesson planning strategies, our company offers professional development and training, and that me, personally, I will be the one delivering. So if that is what's holding you back, then that is a solution that we offer as well. These are our bricks. They're really like any other brick that you may have seen before. I'll give you an example here. There's nothing too different about them. I think one of the improvements that we've made on them is as they come together, there is a rounded edge. This is no longer flush. This allows you to separate them easier. The clutch strength, or the strength that the stud combines with the back, has been improved so that we can increase the rigidity of the different constructions that people will be doing. Bricks are very permanent manipulative. You know, unlike the disposable materials that have been required for most hands-on activities. You know, the ones that require time to set up and be prepared before each lesson, that you need to repurchase and replace every single year, like pipe cleaners or straws or strings or cotton balls, or things that kids can take home. Our bricks are always going to be ready whenever you are. They're indestructible. They're going to outlast your books, your software, your hardware, and possibly even your teachers. Because they're so affordable, it's really easy to make that initial investment. But when you add up the value of the fact that they're going to endure year after year, it really starts to put the price into perspective. So if you imagine just 30 students in your classroom using this, and you were to do this for 3 years, you will have reduced the cost of down to $6 per student. And that's less money than you're going to spend on buying Kleenex and pencils for those students. And the value is truly unmatched. Bricks are also an extremely versatile manipulative. They allow teachers the freedom to move in and out of grade level barriers. You know, the same could be said about differentiating the lessons, the instructions themselves, to challenge those higher end GATE students while at the same time providing achievable goals to empower lower performing students. They can be implemented over any subject or any topic. The ability to tie in an activity or a build to enhance the value or engagement capital of a lesson, it's really only limited to the willingness or creativity of a classroom teacher, or maybe their exposure to STEM practices. The Classroom Grade Series is an excellent example of how social studies and literacy are really not off limits to BrickLab. I think I should do just an example of a build. This is a set of instructions. This is a little holiday curriculum that we put together. This is actually going to go out to anyone who purchases BrickLabs in the month of November, and it's also available for all of you who already own your own BrickLabs. But it gives you a concept of what it is that we're going for, and a series of instructions for each activity. This is the activity that we're going to focus on today. This is the reindeer. We'll start with the building instructions. So I gathered a couple of bricks, and following those building instructions, we're going to start by building 4 legs. Again, these are things that you've done for years. This is something that kids can recognize. This is something that is quick, is easy, that they can race each other at. We'll start by building these 4 legs, and then we should connect our legs. We'll connect the front half, back half of the body, add a little girth. Put this on the head, as well as the face, top of the head to cover the cracks, and a set of antlers. Add a little extra out to the side, and we've got ourselves a reindeer. Oh, without a tail. There we go. So there's our reindeer. You know, a small, simple, quick, fast build. And you know, this is simply an anticipatory set. The kids now have been manipulating physically the bricks. They're much more excited. They just got a chance to do something that was an activity. They're going to have different parts of their brain excited. They're going to be much more available to talk about the life science application or the lesson it is that you're trying to talk about. How might the features of a reindeer help it to survive in the far north? In technology, reindeer and people. You know, reindeer have been used for years. How have they been used by people traditionally? What new technologies have replaced them in some or all of these tasks? Environmental. You know, as the impact of climate change, is it all positive? Is it all negative? Are there some parts that are positive and some that are negative for reindeer? Geometry. What lines of symmetry can you draw through this reindeer or through the snowflake, which is another activity also included in this lesson. So just a small example of something and how quick and easy it is to put it together. Again, this is just something that we've all used, something that we're all aware of. Another great example of both the value and the versatility of BrickLab is the ability to expand. You know, calculating what your budget will allow, you could really arm yourself to the teeth with activities, more than you're ever going to be able to actually do. BrickLab comes in many different flavors, many different recipes, each variety standing on its own, and also it serves a different purpose. There's a classroom series, there is an after-school series, and there is a survey series. The classroom is much more oriented towards the Common Core standards. The purpose is to pepper different lessons for teachers throughout the school year by enhancing engaging activities, supplementing some of those concepts that are required. These activities can turn into a stand and deliver. They can turn a stand and deliver lecture into more of an inquiry-based, student-led experience that's capable of replacing the entire lesson, or maybe just saturating it. The lessons fall under 4 different headings. In math, in the classroom series, these are the different topics that are covered. In science, in social studies, as you look at the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, what you're recognizing is what we cover in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, all the way up. In literacy as well. So sometimes as teachers, it's really easy to become overwhelmed. When I travel around the country and I train different groups of teachers on PCS products, generally speaking, I am there on request of the administrator. It's pretty rare that a teacher is responsible for acquiring my services at the site training. So after my presentation, everyone is fully convinced about the validity of our goals and what what can be accomplished using our products. But when I do meet the resistance, it usually comes in the form of teachers expressing their frustration, adding yet another time constraint into their already packed scope and sequence for the year. And they say, these are great activities. I can totally see how they're going to work, but how am I supposed to include these and then still cover all the standards that I have to? I can barely squeeze it all in as it is, and it's a great question. First of all, I can sympathize. Instructional time is a limited resource. Adding more to a cramped schedule, it just could never work. However, replacing current practices and implementing alternative pedagogy that's more engaging can not only lessen your workload, it can increase the rate that learning is actually taking place within those lessons, and therefore decrease, eventually, the amount of time that you have to spend on each concept. These are the Common Core standards that you can cross off your list by using this methodology. Just a small example of the different ones that we've aligned our classroom activities to. Eventually, you're going to have to cover each and every single one of these anyway. All we're suggesting is that instead of spending several days on it trying to get a student to assess at a level at which you're comfortable with moving on, spending 1 day on it on an activity that's so engaging that they can't help but to acquire that knowledge quicker. So let me just explain it this way. If you'll allow me, I'd like to share just a couple of images. Localized electrical activity that's synonymous with seeing words, speaking words, hearing words, and thinking about words. When lessons are taught in a traditional method, there are 1 or 2 or 3 activities that happen at a time. They can really only do one of these 4 things. But when we engage in activities that require us to work together by listening and speaking to each other about how words that we're seeing, in order to generate original thought and to create, not to mention adding in all of the different parts of the brain that get excited when there's kinetic manipulation of materials, or designing with the end in mind and working forward and backwards through steps. What happens basically is what I'm trying to get at is the student brain becomes lit up in all of the right places, and not just one at a time, but simultaneously. This literally allows them to take in new information faster and solidify concepts more permanently and recall them easier. Overall, it helps them learn better. When we allow students to use all of the parts of their brain when they're truly engaged, that's when we're cruising through material. And when we're accomplishing our laundry list with time to spare for supplemental activities that can saturate that experience even thicker. It's far superior voyage through deep waters as opposed to the mile-wide, inch-deep understanding that we rush our kids through traditionally. This is our BrickLab program overview. There's a research project that you can read about. It shows a 64% increase in math scores, 128% increase in technology scores, as a direct result of introducing construction materials into 2nd, 4th, and 6th grade classrooms. There are several studies on this page that you can look up. I'm going to leave it up on the screen so that you can pause it and look in. Our program is a project-based learning approach. It's been aligned with the ITEA, which is the International Technology Association Standards for Technological Literacy. The grade series is even farther aligned with the ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology in Education. They have National Education Technology Standards, as well as the Association of American Advancement of Sciences. They have something called the Benchmarks for Science Literacy. And what you see here are the contents of the Grade 4 series. As I mentioned before, our programs are designed with flexibility in mind. The curriculum can be implemented as like an occasional supplement to what you've already had in place, or maybe as a week-long technology camp, or maybe you would prefer to rely heavily on the curriculum where it can act as a 3 to 5 day a week progression of ideas to move towards an assessing goal. No matter how you decide to use it, you can rely that the teacher's guide sheet to include all of the ITEA standards that each activity was aligned with, the objective of the lesson, the materials that will be required to implement the activity, the preparation and background that will guide your lesson, as well as any associated vocabulary and a detailed description of the multiplicity of the activities that are provided to choose from. Included in each unit is 2 project plans that will lay the foundation of concepts that will be covered, and a group activity that will allow peers to solidify those concepts as one cohesive unit. There's also a lesson assessment in an individual sense and also in a group sense. The next 3 sides are ITEA standard requirements. I'm going to display each of them on the screen so that you have time to pause and read them, but I'm going to spare you reading them aloud and save some time. Your BrickLab will have nearly 6,000 bricks in it. It will come with a large tub for all of them and a small tub for all of your building platforms. And also a couple of posters to put up in your room about brickbacks, as well as a mesh bag used for cleaning purposes and product maintenance. Of course, every single classroom should write their own rules together, but these are the ones that we see as essential, that students, first of all, treat BrickLab as scientific equipment. Obviously, they are bulletproof components and they won't shatter like chemistry glass, but making sure that there's an elevated respect for the manipulatives and avoid using language like toy. When present, this respect can ensure that students won't throw them or leave them out. Students should keep their criticism, one of the rules is to keep their criticism constructive, always to stay positive with each other, and not to be a parts hog. When 30 plus people are all free building enormous structures, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you might come across a specific need for a specific size or a specific color, and it's nowhere to be found because somebody has a big pile of spare parts sitting in front of them. Only grab the parts that you need. And of course, no chunk dumping. This is an eloquent wordsmithing that refers to when students are finished for the day, and instead of dismantling every single piece, they just sort of toss what's left of their build into the pile, hope that no one catches them before they're long gone. If you do catch someone doing this, you should make them dismantle everyone's builds for the day. I'll bet they'll never do it again. A rule that is of the utmost importance for everyone to follow is, before the lid comes off the bin, everyone has to line up and wash their hands. There's really a number of small crevices that can hide germs. These bricks could spread a cold very quickly. So it's important that you wash your bricks at least twice a year. Use the provided mesh bag to dip the bricks into water that's no more than 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Just a small amount of mild dish detergent will work. Or you can even spot clean with glass cleaner. And here you see just a list of the activities broke down for this variety. This is the after-school series. And just wanted you to get an example of what the curriculum looked like. Like I mentioned, the teacher's guide is the standards are aligned to, the objective, the materials, the preparation, the background information. These are the different list of activities, the vocabulary that's associated. This is a set of building instructions, both verbal and visual. And an individual assessment. An after-school series, obviously assessments aren't going to be as detailed as they are in the classroom setting, but at least this will make them go through what it is that they were supposed to pull as concepts from this particular lesson. This is an excellent activity. Another example, this is of the directed outcome builds. These two will add up to culminate to a group activity in a moment. So you'll see that the goal of this particular build is to build a building, in fact, this building, and each worker that's working on the building can only work a specific number of days, they can only lift a certain amount, they cost a certain amount, and basically what we're doing is setting up a series of parameters. Students have to design what it is that they think is going to be the most profitable way to build this building. And they're starting to recognize what parameters mean, and nobody's going to end up with the exact same solution to this problem. That's what makes it so great. Again, there's an assessment for what your final choice was, and as you watch these two activities come together and the group can work on together, this is the class challenge. As a class, design a model with these following requirements. Again, here's a set of parameters that are out there, but not a set of building instructions. It's important that everything is exactly according to the parameters, but the creativity that's left to the student allows them to do whatever it is that they would like to see. So a unit assessment, obviously, for an after-school series, again, a little less than the classroom, but it's just what it is that we've covered for this particular unit. The other one that I wanted to show you is the classroom series, obviously a little bit different than the after-school series. In true example of exactly what you saw before, this is your teacher guide. You can see what your objective are, what materials are needed, what your standards that you're applying, a Madeline Hunter style anticipatory set. A concept of a lesson is introduced through an inquiry approach, and there is a guided practice, an independent practice, a materials page for everything that you're going to need for the build associated with this, a detailed set of instructions. Obviously, builds that are going to be in the classroom set will not take as long as you'll find other builds to take, because time is the important parameter in the classroom series. There's always an extension, and this is the survey course. If you would like to approach maybe just a particular subject, maybe you're doing fine in all of your other subjects, but rather you would like to just have something where you could beef up your communication or your engineering, for instance. We've created this particular program based on that. One of four or all of four of these different subjects. Again, your suggested teaching will look exactly the same as your other teacher guides, with the objective, the vocabulary, the materials, the preparation, what your discussion might look like, what the activities are going to be, the project plan, and the assessment. The standards alignment, of course, and the table of contents. This is an example of the curriculum that you'll see with Brick Survey. This one in particular is the assembly line with a series of activities. You know, the assembly line is not even, when you build it, it's not necessarily an object that's recognizable, but it's the process that you're going through and going through as a team and racing together against other teams. And these are the types of things that are being focused in this communication activity. An assessment for that activity, of course, and those are our different flavors. So I'll read a couple of questions that I was able to gather from YouTube. How many lessons are there for BrickLab? Is a question that Heather from Illinois asked. With those 3 different types of products that I just showed you, there's well over 100 different lessons that are available. Another question is, are the kits interchangeable, or do I need to buy the digital curriculum separate? That was from Catherine from Arizona. Well, I would say yes to both. They are interchangeable, but that's kind of the beauty of it as well, is once you have the manipulative, buying additional curriculum for it is something that we offer. But you don't need to buy a new kit for every single new set of curriculum. All you need is one BrickLab. Another question from Ashley from Georgia. It was, what different grade levels do you service with this? And so, anywhere K through 6, grade 1 through 6 for the classroom, K through 4 for after school, and then survey is aligned from kindergarten through 6th grade. So those are some of the questions. Again, feel free to write those questions on this YouTube comments, and we will get back to you with every single question that you have. If you need to find us, we are PCS Edventures. You can find us in Boise, Idaho, at www.adventures.com. If you need additional information, you can email info@adventures or call our 1-800 number, 1-800-429-3110. Again, my name is Jesse Bastian. I'm the Director of Training. If you need to get a hold of me personally, just contact me at jesse@adventures.com or extension 104. I really want to thank you for paying attention and for listening, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.